Well, welcome to the last Coffee at 10 of our series with the Guild Member Salon Show, which closes on Saturday. This Saturday is the last day of the show. So if you know folks who haven't seen it yet, or if you're here and you haven't seen it, please take a look and enjoy it. And then our new Coffee at 10 series that's connected to the Youth Art Show will begin March 20th with Amanda Weinert. So I'm really excited to introduce Jasmine here today. Those of you know Melissa back there, she curated a really wonderful show called Brightly Colored and Tightly Wound, a fiber art show in the Atrium Gallery. And Jasmine was one of the featured artists in that exhibition. So I'm sorry, the exhibition's down now, but I hope that you had a chance to see it because Melissa curated a beautiful show. So anyway, Jasmine Lace Petrie, you might know her as Jasmine Lace if you follow her on Instagram, but her full name is Jasmine Lace Petrie, and her company is called Howl at the Loom, which I think is a fabulous title. She's a lifelong resident of Northern Michigan and has been practicing natural dyeing for over a decade. She's taught many fiber art workshops in the area, including at Crooked Tree Art Center, indigo dyeing and natural dyeing here. And we hope you'll do that again sometime soon. So she's taught many classes here and in fiber workshops in the area and all over the place. She studied natural dye under Shanna Robinson, who we have here today, India Flint, Elin Noble, and Irit Dulman. She's also an avid weaver and constantly seeks to express her enthusiasm for local fiber arts by supporting local businesses and organizations. So we're really happy to have you here today.
Thank you. Hello, thanks for having me. I've got to be honest, I'm going to try not to be like emotional, but I've been having a lot of big emotions lately, and just with the connection of all things. So let's get started. I made a PowerPoint presentation for the first time in, I don't know, 20 years. Is this the right direction? Oh, it's okay. This way. Okay. So I grew up in Northern Michigan playing in the woods. I am a part of a big family, local family. My kids are the 7th generation of my family to live in this area. And so, you know, it's something I always took for granted, playing in the woods as a child and knowing my cousins, but I realized that, not a lot of people get to do that, especially less and less these days. So, that's a big part of who I am. Let's move on. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Yes. So this is my great grandma, Doris Petrie. And so these are all like first and second cousins, third cousins. And so that's not all of us. It's just a picture of a lot of us. Yeah. So thank you. I have strong DIY roots, do it yourself. So my mom taught me the art of altering t-shirts. This is me in high school with an altered Spider-Man t-shirt. And so that was my introduction into fiber arts, really altering my clothes. I primarily shop at thrift stores then and now. And so I spent a lot of time making the clothes I found into what I wanted to wear. And so I've taught several workshops. These are some of the first workshops I ever taught. T-shirt surgery at Bliss Fest. the Charlevoix Library, and Limited Edition, which was a really neat pop-up shop downtown Petoskey in 2015. So, yeah, before that, I learned teaching methods from being in the Young Americans Performing Arts group. And so my first experiences with teaching was with them, and teaching kids in LA show tunes. So meeting Shanna Robinson was was a huge influence on me. And here she is in the crowd. So I never considered myself an artist until I discovered textile arts in the art department at NCMC when I started going in 2007. So yeah, and so Shanna was the director of the art department and had a focus on textiles. And I think that you really demonstrate very well like how to learn. So that's been really, it's been yeah, a pivotal moment and still ongoing. And so this photo was taken by Dawn, who is also in the audience. And yes, here we are doing some natural dyeing, indigo dyeing at NCMC. And then Robin Mueller came to NCMC with the help of Crooked Tree to teach some double weaving. So yes. And so with my the beginnings of my education at NCMC, there were strong ties with the Cross Village Rug Works, which started in 2008. And so because I had studied dyeing at the college, I got a job as a yarn dyer at Cross Village Rug Works. And me and Audrey were the dye team there. And we worked on these libraries of dye gradations with greener shades acid dyes. And so, you know, there's more colors that exist, but almost, you know, any color you want to dye, we figured out how to dye it. And this got all the formulas of the percentages of the colors that we mixed to make these colors. So I think that's really cool. And so Audrey has walked on, but it was really awesome to work with her. And so we taught a workshop at Wagbo Farm and Education Center in East Jordan together as well on natural dye, which is a big part of my life now, and I will talk more about that. When the Rugworks was closing, they could no longer pay us as employees an hourly wage. But they said that if we wanted to keep working until the closure, we could clock hours for tools and materials at the end of the doors closing. And so those of us who were left on the last day all went around in a circle, taking turns, grabbing things we wanted to take to be a part of our home studios. My art history professor, Andrea Gehring, saw me weaving on probably this loom and was like, if you had a loom like this, would you keep weaving, you know, into the future? And I was like, yeah, for sure. And so she and her sister purchased one of the big cranbrook looms for me. So I still have that, I still use that. And that was it was just huge. So with all of this stuff that I had as a 20-something, I was like 22, 23, I don't know. I didn't, I didn't own a home. So I rented a warehouse in Petoskey to house my studio, and I didn't live there, definitely not. Um, so this is my loom was in this like cozier room that was carpeted, and then the dye studio was in the like garage. I'm washing some wool here, and there's the loom as well, and so there's a lot that isn't pictured. And then I threw a lot of parties. Um, and it was a really, really fun time. It was kind of like those, old times you read about in the artists' lives. Um, so, oh, so while I was living here, I was on the board of directors for Blissfest. I worked as the studio assistant at NCMC, and I also won the Robert Emmett Scholarship to study in Galway, Ireland. So I had to move out of here in a hurry when I was going to Ireland. So we packed everything up, and like I stored it at my dad's house and various places, and spent a semester studying at GMIT. And I was studying Irish heritage there as part of the scholarship. As a part of my practice, it's very important to me to be in touch with where the fibers are coming from. So I have been helping with this alpaca shearing for a decade now, I realized from my photos. And that happens in Horton Bay. Here I am washing some fibers from probably my friend Cheryl from the Rugworks. And my friend Jen is shearing a sheep here at the Tip of the Mitt Fiber Fair, which I help organize here in Petoskey. And so natural dye has been a huge part of my practice from the start. I guess let me say, I started with Greener Shades acid dye, which is like an organically approved acid dye for protein fibers, which is wool, alpaca, and silk. But like learning about natural dyes is an endless education. So it's really fantastic that Shanna brought learning about that into my life. And so this is the natural dye garden that we had at Lavender Hill Farm. And this is some indigo that we grew there that we are drying and processing, breaking the leaves off of the stems to send to Roland Ricketts in Ohio, right? To do the fermentation process to turn it into pre-reduced indigo to use in vat dyeing. So it's better to have more plant material in that process. So he provides a place that people can send theirs, and then you get a percentage back based on that. And then here's Bev Thorne demonstrating flax processing at the Tip of the Mitt Fiber Fair, which flax, of course, becomes linen when it is processed. These materials have been with us, with humans, for centuries, and have several properties that are like very beneficial for different climate experiences. You know, wool helps, can stay warm even when it's wet. Fast drying and breathable for as far as, you know, all of them. Whereas synthetics are kind of like hold everything in and just aren't really insulating because they're made out of plastic. So it's very important to know where these things come from and use them. So learning in person is just amazing. I love taking classes. And so there's Dawn, who's in the audience. Elin Noble's Natural Dyes New Methods class at NCMC, which Cricketry helped bring that to the college, as well as the Mary Zickafoos ECOT weaving and dyeing class. And I have an example from this class here. And so this is a weft ECOT. And so I measured the weft, which is the fibers going this way. The warp is here and you can see it on the ends. So that's going this way. And so I pre-measured the weft, resisted where you see the white, and then dyed in a black greener shades acid dye. And so that is how the pattern emerges on this fabric. It's not the pattern isn't woven per se. It is from dyeing. And so this one kind of got away from me, which looks really cool, I think. This wasn't how I intended it, but sometimes those surprises can be really nice in any art form. And so I have taken a couple classes from Alyssa Allen of mycopigments, which is mushroom dyeing. And then I took this class in 2013 from India Flint. It was called Shapeshifter. And India Flint is one of the forerunners at the eco-printing movement. It's a natural dye technique that is contact dyeing with leaves and flowers and whatnot. And so I really work within the style I learned from India, which is way more chaotic than a lot of the people working today, which, I mean, she's still working today, but I have a lot of fun with that process. And I should have included a picture of my cauldron that I use now to dye my eco prints. But you'll just have to look at my Instagram to find that. But here I am working on this dress, and this is it. And so I made it out of a tablecloth, a circular tablecloth. I stayed up till 3 in the morning sewing it at our hotel in the lobby. We were in Cleveland. And so Shanna was at this workshop, as well as Sandy and Jamie. Yes. So there's huge pockets in this dress right here. So so yeah, the class was designing a garment that she would like to wear and then dyeing it in the eco printing method. And therefore I believe in teaching what I have learned. With the long history of teaching in my life, it only seems natural to offer classes about what I've learned. And so I have participated in the crosshatch skill swap a few times. This is a indigo shibori class. This is indigo at Shanny Creek. This is an eco printing class I taught at Wagbo. And what I really love when I look at these pictures is that we're like pretty much outside in all of them. So this is a good, natural dyeing especially is a good art form to spend time outdoors, whether it's gardening or foraging or dyeing itself. And this one is a tiny tapestry weaving class. That might have been the biggest class I ever taught of that. So a lot of people to get warped. Because weaving is such a time-consuming endeavor. So I also believe in participating. I say yes to a lot of things, including this. And so this was last year. There's Shanna again. Well, we'll go to this one. This is the sustainable fashion show that we put on at the casino. I am wearing that dress as well as a leather shawl that I made. And I made this woven hood as well. Shanna's in an eco-printed garment and garment. And then Anne is wearing a, I believe, knitted item and a handmade skirt. So that was a lot of fun. Last year I was on a podcast interview with my friend Tina, the Kinship in Kinship podcast. So she does a lot of really cool interviews. If you want to check that out. All the way back in 2011, I was demonstrating at a Montessori school in Charlevoix. And I was on the panel discussion at Interlochen for the showing of the True Cost film, which analyzes our garment industry and how it is destroying people and planet. So I highly recommend watching that. And there's so many resources now to learn more about that. Clothes Horse on Instagram is another great person to follow. Demonstrating at the Art Walk, Crooked Tree Art Walk, downtown Petoskey, in front of Flora Bay, where I have taught some workshops because of demonstrating in front of our shop. And this is me at the Fiber Fair with my kids, who are now 8 and 10, and my goats. This is Edgar and Oliver. And so I made this, I call it a no-kill pelt from Edgar's fleece. This is a full year of growth that I wet felted onto wool. And then did some needle felting around the edges to solidify it. And so I only made a few of these because my friend Charlie, who owns Windy Acres Fiber Mill, was like, this is a little too long and matted for me to spin. So you need to shear twice a year. So I started shearing him more often. And then he passed away a couple years ago, unfortunately. His friend and life partner, Oliver, is still with us, but he's a 15-year-old goat now. And also demonstrating with crosshatch at Oriana in Traverse City. So I am now, as of just before the fair last year, I am the president of the Tip of the Mitt Fiber Fair. And I also helped found it. So I highly recommend going. So art means community to me in a lot of ways. And I feel like any accomplishments I have made in the arts is because of community. And so here is one of my first group showing experiences at Glen Arbor Arts with Rogues Gallery. We all made portraits of invasive species. And this is mine. This is the emerald ash borer portrait. And so now currently, this is one of my latest, well, I guess it's like 4 pieces ago now, but it was bringing back what I had learned about ikat weaving to show in a Matter show in Astoria, Oregon. So I resisted and dyed in the ikat method, and then dyed the entire thing with Matter, and which is a natural dye. It's a root, and the variations in color that it achieved is from having different mordants. And so a mordant is a pre-treatment, and it comes from the Latin to bite, and it creates a chemical bond with the fibers so that dyes can bond to it and make the colors color fast, which means more or less permanent. And so the different mordants, this is an iron and then alum. And then and then the warp, crap, I'm sorry. I think the weft was no mordant. The warp is alum mordant, and then this part of the warp is an iron mordant. So, so I met Iris, who put the show together on Instagram. And then Interlacements is a group of local weavers, or well, Michigan, Midwest weavers. And we have shown several places, including Traverse City Crooked Tree, Charlevoix Circle of Arts, the U of M Medical Center, and Lowell Arts. And I've got our upcoming show on another slide. So just really fantastic that we can cooperate with each other to show. Yeah, it's a microcosm that can hopefully become a macrocosm. And so the story of the traveling loom. This Cranbrook loom that Andrea helped me get from the Rug Works. I am weaving her a rug right here. This is when it was at my dad's house where I was living temporarily. My goat, Oliver, inside the loom. But my dad wanted his house back. So I put it in the upstairs of my house here. And yeah, I really squeezed in. And this was before I had kids. And then I had kids, and well, 2016, she would have been 2. I had a weaving project on a tapestry loom that was sitting on the floor about right here. And my sweet, sweet daughter decided to follow in my footsteps and take a pair of scissors and cut my project off the loom for me. And it was kind of that moment where I was like, I gotta get out of here. So I have been involved with Wagbo Farm and Education Center for at least since then, probably before 2013, I'll say. And so this space upstairs was intended to be a living space, but it was actually deemed not safe for the fire code. And so it was kind of just building up as a storage space. And so I was like, hey guys, do you think I could move my weaving studio up there? And we came to an agreement, and so here I am painting the walls, and this is an iteration of it. It is much more packed now because of um so Shanna retired from NCMC, and they didn't know what to do with the textile studio that they had for, you know, maybe lack of trying, I don't know. So we some of us went and rescued the looms and the tools and the materials that were there, and this dye library I had created, because when the Rugworks closed, everything that the employees didn't take went to the college. So this library, other libraries I had helped create as the studio assistant. I I have those now. So, but this space turned out to be is too small for all that. And so this is also Wagbo. This is the downstairs of the building that my studio is currently in. So let me start with Wagbo is a nonprofit, and it was created at the will of the three Wagbo sisters, who never married, never had children, so they didn't have descendants to pass their family farm onto. And they had become integrated into fighting for peace and justice with an organization in Grand Rapids called IGE. We'll look up that acronym later. And so the 212 acres of their family farm and any of their inheritance, they left to IGE in the focus on peace and justice. And they're all the way in Grand Rapids. Wagbo was being run by a committee. And about in the 90s, I think Martha died in like 1992. So a few years down the line, the committee decided to break off and become a board of directors, and made an arrangement with IGE so that they could do that. And so what I say about Wagbo is Wagbo is what you make it, because it's the pursuit of peace and justice is pretty open-ended, and in my opinion, being connected to the land justice, and also being involved in the process of making our own things, growing our own food, is peace and justice work. So I approached the board again to say, hey, so this downstairs wood shop that no one's using in is just a storage space. Do you think I could turn it into a weaving school? And so our wonderful Wendy, who has been writing grants for us, was able to get some grants from the Community Foundation, Great Lakes Energy, Paddle Antrim, to provide funding to do some upgrades to the building, because it was flooding, it wasn't airtight. And so the Paddle Antrim grant helped with this drainage project, and we replaced the door with a window. And this was the first step, was getting rid of this. And this is Jack with a jackhammer. And And so this is in process. This is about what the space looks like now. This is an example of before the construction started, I hosted a community rug weaving and a clothing swap inside the space. And so, you know, I could take up space like nobody's business. Like I could use more space than this, but it's gonna be fantastic. And I'm so excited to see what happens. I'm so excited to look out of this window at the sugar shack and the little creek that runs by the driveway. And I am really excited to invite people to this space to learn how to weave and use the looms from the college to weave whatever they want. So that's the vision for this. And I am calling it watershed weaving. East Jordan, yeah, on 66, just south of town. So what's next? Watershed weaving. The Tip of the Mitt Fiber Fair is coming up May 31st and June 1st. I am partnering with the Fiber Shed Yarn Shop and Fish Fibers, Karen Fish, to offer an eco-printing weekend retreat this September. It's going to be in Boyne Falls at a glamping retreat center. And then our weaving group Interlacements will be at the Box Factory in St. Joseph in September and October. And here's another really cute picture of Artemis, who is now 10, helping me with eco-printing. Okay. Yes, that's it. Does anyone have any questions?
Question, Jasmine. When you went to the residency in Ireland to study Irish culture, how did that influence your work? What did you actually do there?
Okay. Well, I feel like the people that I met there was the biggest influence on me. As well as, hearing people speak Irish in class, and, learning more about the history and the mythology of Ireland. It's hard to say how these things affect you, but they definitely did. One of the professors I had told me, he kind of introduced me to the concept of degrowth as far as economics go. He told me about a book called Small is Beautiful. And so, being in a country that resisted colonization was a huge inspiration. And I was there during the Occupy movement. And so Occupy happened in the United States, and I was like, oh my God, why am I not there? And then I walked into downtown Galway, and there's like an encampment offering, they always had a pot of tea on, and you could just go and have a cuppa and talk, a place to exist, a third space. And then my friend Stella was studying textiles while she was there. And so I had already began, obviously on my journey of textiles. And I was like, geez, if I'm going to college, I wish I was studying textiles. And so she was able to show me their weaving center, and their weaving room was full, like this size, full of looms. And so visualizing that kind of space also was important. But I am glad that I focused on Irish heritage and the historical texts from the land. Yeah.
About the fiber fair and what that looks like.
Yeah. So the Tip of the Mint Fiber Fair celebrates Michigan's fiber farmers, processors, and artisans. And so we have vendors that come from around the Midwest with hand-dyed yarns and locally, processed fibers and finished items, as well as many classes and demonstrations and fiber animals as well. So, and it's at the Emmett County Fairgrounds.
You say fiber animals, you mean like alpaca and sheep for them?
Yes. Yeah, and yaks as well.
Interested in, you're a lifelong learner, so what is it that you're interested, what new area are you interested in investigating? I understand you're really busy getting this studio set up, but what is it what's your next frontier that you're interested in learning about?
Ooh, yeah. Well, I am really excited about a class that I am taking in North Carolina in July with a lady named Makiko, who is coming from Japan to teach shibori, stitch shibori, and a Tsukumo indigo vat. So I'm only taking a segment of the workshop, but I'm really excited to dive more into that area of knowledge that I've like dabbled in, but to really learn from someone who does this like all the time. So I think, yeah, that's the most excited right now.
Another question, I know that we're going to offer a workshop using kind of local materials and food scraps. Natural dyeing.
Yeah.
So is there some sort of like really accessible natural dye source, food scrap or otherwise that you would recommend to people here who haven't done this work?
Oh, yeah. Well, right down the hill, I don't want to give away my big secret, but there's black walnut trees. And I do harvest the nuts from Pennsylvania Park in the fall. That's a natural dye and mordant all in one because they have tannins in them. So I feel like that's a really easy place to start. Yeah. Just throw the nuts in there with water and natural fibers. Also onion skins and avocado pits are huge right now. And there's a lot online you can learn about that. But then, goldenrod is a really common flower. Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
You have an extremely busy life and you're raising a couple children on top of everything else you're talking about here. Your show, your exhibit, what you participated in the lower gallery was fabulous.
Thank you.
What made me make sure I was coming today. So thanks to Alyssa for putting that together. And I'm wondering, where does that side of the art business come in for you? I know you have an exhibit coming up in September that you're a part of, but where does that sales and income from your artwork fit into everything else?
Well, I'm gonna be honest and say my art isn't that commercially viable at this point. I did just weave a commission for someone and sold that, but it showing my art is more of it's like a spillover of something I can't contain for me. I do art fairs and craft shows, and so I sell more utilitarian goods at those, and once in a while a piece of art. So it's and then teaching workshops as well. It's all I'm undiagnosed, but I'm sure I'm ADHD, and I think that all those like different facets like mesh together to function as a whole. Did that answer your question?
It does. Don't sell yourself short because I could picture your work being a part of this show, for example. I mean, what you had down there to me was very commercially viable for someone to hang in their home. There were absolutely stunning pieces of work there, so.
Oh,
And I
thank
can
you.
imagine you have to decide where your focus is with so many things going on. And maybe that aspect isn't really where you want to put your efforts, because that's a whole different game when you get involved with that whole sales business and developing your art form for that
Mm,
purpose. But, just don't sell yourself short.
yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I actually would just like to comment on the connection between art and ecology. I know you mentioned crosshatch.
Mhm.
So I've been working in ecology and by necessity in ecological restoration for about 30 years. And I always did artwork, and they asked me to do a tour for the Natural Dye Conference. International Natural Dye Conference was in Taos, New Mexico. And so I was doing a field tour with the plants. So I had people from Africa, Asia, Indonesia, everywhere on the globe, following me around, showing them native plants from the Southern Rockies. And I learned so much about restoration ecology because of what they knew about wardens, biogeochemical properties, binding, and almost all of our wetlands and water bodies are terribly contaminated. And people think they're in a remote area without any contamination, but we had acid deposition at 14,000 feet in glacial lakes. So the glacial lakes were acidified and all the fisheries and the, so I'd love to like partner with people who have that bigger picture. But I also thought of all the projects that I worked on, almost always ended up by myself in these drastic field settings where nobody really understood those biogeochemical pathways and how to use plants to help restore the natural habitat. And actually what you want to do is take the invasive and the contaminating elements out and inspire the natural seed bank and other things to restore. You don't want to keep bringing more in.
Mhm.
But I thought, you know, the best kind of field team I could ever imagine would be people who were land-based from that region, who had some knowledge of like following through, interacting the materials, the plants, the environment. So I really applaud what you're doing.
Thank
And
you.
if you, I'm gonna give you my card, but I'd love to see a link like on the education side. And maybe that could be something that could move forward mutually, you know, for a lot of people.
Mhm.
It's certainly not something that's going away. You know,
Yeah.
but that creativity is really like, to me, is so much a part of the healing.
Yeah.
So if you're part of that landscape, you're also part of that healing, right?
Right.
That's more than I meant to say, but I just wanted to applaud you. I'm really inspired, you can tell. So it's great to see the next generations picking it up, you know, but if you have to constantly do it by yourself or start over, when there's all these other beings out there that want to
Yeah.
be connected to this.
Well, and that's a huge, I mean, that's part of like where WAGBO comes in as well. So right now, we're working on a program, schedule, and COVID hit WAGBO really hard. It was really hard to pick up the momentum that we had. So we're getting back to, you know, we've done a lot of foraging events, a lot of local food events. And it seems like a lot of people want that, the focus back on that, but yeah, to connect like foraging there with natural dyeing and eating. Seems like that could be part of what you're talking about. Cool.
And your kids, are they doing?
My youngest is more interested in than my oldest is. She's only 10, but she's already a teenager basically. She doesn't want much to do with me right now. But it's all right. We have things in common that aren't this.
Watershed weaving studio will be functional.
Okay, I'm going for spring. But of course, like with the construction project, it was like, oh, well, we should probably just re-insulate all the walls. And then Wendy's trying to get a grant for a mini split heating system in there. And so there's still pieces coming together, but once summer hits, I won't need heating for another 3 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Good, Jasmine. If you could do, weaving.
I would say Wagbo has an online donation form, and you can earmark on there, if you want to make a monetary donation, or, just follow my newsletter for updates, which you can find at my website, howlattheloom.com. And everyone here, I, want to give you a sticker, as well as any of, this is a little zine I made and a Fiber Fair bookmark if you want to come get it.
Okay, well, thank you. That was so interesting and inspiring and exciting, and we'll all be following up to see how all that develops. And want to say too that the show that's going to be in St. Joseph at the Box Factory, that show will be moving. Is that right? The same show to CTAC in Traverse City in 2026. So
Yeah.
you don't get to see it at St. Joseph's, then you get to see
It's
it
the
in
same people, but
Traverse
off
City.
of different work.
Different one.
Yeah.
I also want to thank our sponsors, Comfort Keepers and Roast and Toast. And I want to thank all of you for coming today. And it's really great to see you all, to hear about Jasmine's work and vision and all the exciting things she's doing. So thanks so much. And we